This is Good Morning Transfers. Conor Gallagher's in Madrid. He's going to have a medical ahead of that £36 million move from Chelsea. Liverpool haven't signed anybody yet. Is that about to change? We've got loads to discuss this morning, including Manchester United's search for a new midfielder. Could Dominic Solanke be on his way to Tottenham? And don't forget, if you're out and about, you can keep up to date with all of the latest transfer news. You've got a dedicated Transfer Centre blog on the website. You just need to scan this QR code on the screen right now. Right, we're going to start with Conor Gallagher as his move to Atletico Madrid gets ever closer. He's going to have a medical today. Let's take a look at him leaving London last night on a private jet. This left for Madrid ahead of that £36 million move from Chelsea. And then we've got some shots here of Gallagher signing autographs after arriving in Madrid. This was posted on X overnight. Any updates to this, we will, of course, bring them to you here. We've got some breaking transfer news to bring you. Newcastle have announced the signing of William Osula from Sheffield United. This is a deal worth up to £15 million. Keith Downey has been telling us about this one. We're going to hear from Eddie Howe a bit later on this morning. But that's the breaking transfer news this morning. Newcastle announcing the signing of William Osula. Right. Now, we have got so much to get through this morning. We're going to actually start with a build-up to the start of the new EFL season. 72 Live is kicking off. Yesterday, we visited every League Two side. Today, we're concentrating on League One, and our next stop is Rotherham, where our reporter Sani Rudravajala is waiting to speak to us. Hi, Sani.
Good morning. Yes, welcome to the New York Stadium. Not where Rotherham will be playing their first game of the season. We're actually heading off to Exeter on Saturday, 5:30 kick-off there. But it has been a long wait if you're a Miller fan, right? Because after last season and relegation from the Championship, it's all about trying to get back to where they once were. And they've got in a man who knows exactly what it's like to do that. He came in at the back end of last season. Steve Evans, you had 3 games last season in the Championship. You're back here and you've had pre-season so far. How's it gone? Looking forward to Saturday?
Oh, very much so. You know, it's been a busy summer, but a very productive summer. And who doesn't want to come and work in an environment like this every day? So we're very fortunate, and we're looking forward to the challenges of League One, because we know it'll be tough, but we'll be tough too.
And it's not your first time here, of course. Your first spell was very successful. Tony Stewart got the chairman with you as well. I'll come to you in a moment. But when you got the call from Tony, how quickly did it take you to kind of get through that and think, yeah, do you know what, I want to come back?
Yeah, I think when I got the call, it was we'd agreed to meet, and I knew in my heart where I would like to be. And when they, sat down with the chairman for a couple of hours, and we just chatted football really. There was nothing about from my side or his side, just football and where we needed the chairman's enthusiasm to be back to a level which was there always within my time here. And mine's is just a deep love for the football club, so it was really easy. Seconds.
Tony, when you were looking for your phone book about who to potentially bring in to Rotherham, and you saw a man who's had 9 promotions, 2 back-to-back promotions in Rotherham for the first time here, I guess it was pretty simple for you. Well, there is that talk, but should you ever go back? I mean, what was it like from your end?
Well, we'd always kept in touch, Steve and I. He left 10 years ago. We'd always kept in touch. We were always friends, knew the family, and it was so natural. It was the gap that was missing, and we had to fill that gap. And it didn't take long for me to realise that, he'll forgive me for this, but the devil you know is the person that is right for the job. Proved, tried and tested. His first visit to Rotherham did a tremendous job. And, we're back again, and we're looking forward. I have to say that the town is excited, it's invigorated, and Steve, again, has put that magic touch, not just to the players, but to the town. And the town's grateful for Steve and Paul Rains for coming along and picking up the reins. And there's a cliche.
There's a cliche.
As far as the turnover in players, quite a few have come in. A lot have moved on as well. What's it been like trying to bring them all together this season, well, pre-season so far?
I think when you first take the role, and we had the 3 games towards the end of the season, but if you see something's broken, and the squad was broken in terms of everything about it. We had to change it. So we went and produced a plan to our chairman, our board, and they said go ahead and activate that plan. So we've done that in large. So we're really excited. We're really looking forward to it. But there's a real sense of realism that I think I've seen on record many managers in the last 24 hours saying this is the toughest League One EFL ever. I would tend to agree with that, but the strongest will go to the top.
What does it take to get promotion from League One? You've done it enough times.
Yeah, I think you just have to have a plan. You have to have some detail. You have to work incredibly hard. It has to be your number one sole focus of everyone in your football club. And we're very lucky here. I've been here before where it's not been winning football and you have a very supportive chairman. People forget that Paul Warren's a really good manager now at Derby, but he was here for a number of years. But our chairman supported him through 7, 8, 9, 10 games not winning, and we're still there for him. So it needs everyone together, and the plan ultimately will be successful.
Now, I mentioned you brought in a few players. We also today are going to reveal exclusively here on Sky Sports News who is going to be the Rotherham captain for this season. I think it's time to reveal it, shouldn't we?
Yeah, our captain's much thought out, if you like. 4 or 5 real captains in the dressing room, but one to me that I wanted to bring and I wanted to give him that leadership role is Johnson Clark-Harris, and his repertoire in the Football League speaks for itself.
Well, by the power of show business, we can bring Johnson Clark-Harris here. Johnson, this is not your first spell here. You're back, and you played under Steve Evans the first time. I think he sent you on loan twice, didn't he? But what made you decide to come back to Rotherham?
It was a pretty easy decision for me to come back when I first initially got the call. When the boss got the job, I was licking my lips thinking it was a match made in heaven. So really grateful to be back. A pleasure to be working under the boss again, and with the chairman that we have here. I do think we will be successful this season. And
you are the captain now, so you've got that extra responsibility. We saw, how brilliantly you've done it at Peterborough previously, Golden Boot winner in League One as well. Where do you see your role as far as goal scoring, leading the team? It's a lot to take on there.
Yeah, there's a lot to take on, but I feel like that's my type of role. I've been a captain before, and I'm a natural leader on the pitch and in training as well, and just always try to do my best and run through brick walls for any of my teammates or the boss or anybody else who's in the club.
And Steve, just finally, as far as bringing Johnson in, what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, listen, we signed a captain, we signed a leader, we signed a goal scorer. Everything's in the makeup. Johnson just has to continue to do what he does very well, which is focus on his football, work really hard, focus on just everything in front of him, and everything will come together. We have a great leader. I'll keep saying it. We have a great leader in our chairman. He does set incredibly high standards. That's one thing that's always been akin to me. I have for years and years. I've used these quotes time after time, and so we're going to do everything we can to get someone who invests millions of pounds every year sitting up here enjoying his football again, because it's not been good for 12 months.
Well, promotion is certainly the aim here at Rotherham United. They go to Exeter City for that opening game on League One. Every game in League One on Sky Sports Plus, of course. 5:30 kick-off. And yeah, they've got a big man here with some goals. A big character back in the team. And I'm going to say a big character as well as the manager to lead them through it.
Yeah, massive, all of you. Right, brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Sani. We'll speak to you soon. So the season is nearly here, can't wait. You won't miss any of the action. Sky Sports Plus will show over 1,000 EFL matches this season. You just need to scan the QR code to get all of the information. Right, you two, time to do some work now. A very good morning to Flex and Nabeed Haroon. We'll start with Liverpool, OK, because they are interested in Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi. The new manager, Arne Slot, wants to bring in a number 6 type midfielder. The Spain international is thought to have a £51 million release clause. Nabeed, he's 25. He's been considered by Manchester United. We know that Arsenal also long-time admirers. What sort of player is he?
I think when you look at him, he's the sort of player that every team in Europe probably wants, a high-volume passer, someone who's comfortable in possession. And the way the game's going, the reason Arsenal, United, Liverpool have all been linked is because they want that midfielder who's a tempo dictator. I'm going to look more into it, but also I've heard a lot of good things about him at Real Sociedad. Ex-coaches have said he's a really good guy to have around. He was also in the Euros squad, and whenever he was brought in, whether it was for 4 minutes or for 40 minutes, he always puts in a shift. So I think all the stars are aligning at last, and genuinely, I'm just happy to be talking about Liverpool. I was on yesterday. We spoke about Chelsea for 2 hours yesterday. So just 2 minutes Liverpool will do me nicely.
We'll get to that, don't you worry. We're talking about this number 6 that Arne Slot wants to bring in. Is that what they need?
I think so. I think they've been trying to nail down a long-term player for that position. And if you look what happened last year with the long-standing admiration for Caicedo, that transfer didn't materialise. And then you look at them trying to get Lavia in there, that didn't materialise. And it was really difficult for them to do it. Endo came in at short notice, and that's more of a short-term replacement as well with his age as well. And he actually did a really good job. Alexis McAllister's been playing in that position and done a fantastic job at it because he's such a fantastic footballer. But I think he's somewhat wasted there. He can offer so much more. You saw that from when he played further forward at Brighton, and he definitely can in this Liverpool side. So I think for Arne Slot, it's a position that he's going to want to find a long-term replacement for, somebody who can have that position for the next few years at least and kick this Liverpool team on.
And Nabeid, you mentioned you've been looking a bit more in depth into that role, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this off air to the guys that I've spent 3 transfer windows saying Liverpool should sign Zubimendi, and now here we are, finally get the moment to talk about.
Well, we haven't signed him yet.
I'm saying I hope we do. I still
don't forget what happened with Caicedo.
As Flex mentioned, last season Liverpool used Endo and McAllister as 2 6s at different times, and I sort of feel like the 6 role is 2 types of players. You either have the Kante type, which is Endo, bit of a destroyer, wants to win possession, gives the ball into the guys who want the ball a little more frequently. Then you have McAllister, who's maybe in the Rodri mould. Now, of course, Rodri's a unicorn, he can do everything, but in terms of the tempo setter, the man in possession, and I don't think either of them did the job badly, but I think Liverpool needs someone who can do both, especially in Arne Slot's system, where I think he desires a person who can pick the ball up off the centre-backs, who can pick the ball up in central areas, can play long passes, can play short passes, has lots of variations to his game. And that's where Zubimendi comes in. Now, I'll start with the concerns first. A lot of Liverpool fans are concerned that he's 5'11" and he may struggle in duels. But actually, the stats are very much so in his favour, as you'll see here. Interceptions per 90, 1.25, very similar to Endo. And if you think about the way Endo played, he was someone who was trying to pinch the ball back and get going. Tackles per 90, 1.66. And also, this is in La Liga. And the demand on him isn't to win tackles, it isn't to intercept the ball constantly. So I think those numbers will also go up. The aerial duels is really important. If you think about Manchester City, you think about Arsenal, the 2 best sides last season, they have monsters in midfield, they have duel winners all over the park. He's really good in the air for a guy who's 5'11", so I wouldn't sort of put that down against him. And then ground duels, 2.6, and also ball recoveries. Generally, his stats defensively shape up really well. And the best part about this is his strengths are actually in possession. And he's one of those players where I always say, trust your eyes. Eye test the feeling in your gut. And obviously, I'm very biased because it's Zubimendi and I love him and I think he's a fantastic player. But he's one of these players that he demands the ball. He wants possession. A lot of people compare him to Xabi Alonso. I think in terms of passing range, maybe. But in terms of profile, he's a little bit more diminutive. He's a little bit more dominant when he picks the ball up and doesn't just want to spray passes around. And I think Liverpool really lack that player. And in pre-season, we've seen Arne Slot has sort of asked various different midfielders to drop in the 6th position. Can you go and get the ball off the centre-back or the left-back or the right-back? No one's really fulfilled that position. Curtis Jones has been asked to do it, Harvey Elliott at different times. Obviously, McAllister's been away, and as Endo, you bring this man in who, as I've just shown you there, he can do the off-the-ball stuff, which people are concerned about. And in possession, there is zero concern about Zubimendi. And then it's the price tag. And £51 million, in my opinion, for a number 6 in the current market is cheap, because there isn't many 6s around. And I think when you look around, we spoke about Manchester United yesterday, who are they going to get, what are the options? Everyone doesn't really fit like they want them to fit. He fits Liverpool like a glove, fits the Arne Slot position and what he's after. And ultimately, I'm praying that Zubimendi is starting. I've waited a long time for this moment.
You basically just said he's better than Xabi Alonso. That's basically what you just said.
I'm better. I don't remember saying better.
He said he's going to have a better career, he's going to win more. He's basically better than Xabi Alonso. I mean, no pressure.
Listen, he's from a similar sort of place. He could do it. He could do it.
Love a bit of Zubimendi.
I mean, I've waited. I've waited 3 transfer windows.
Going Chelsea.
I mean, yeah, we did this last year for Caicedo and Lavia, and I was sat here saying, this is perfect.
You've been stitched up again, Nabeid. Look, Nabeid's mentioned, glad we're finally talking about Liverpool. No new players yet. Why do you think there hasn't been any signings so far?
I think patience is key. I mean, when somebody as impactful and as important as Jurgen Klopp leaves that football club, there's such a big void to fill. There's going to be so much change, new ideas, new processes, and fans, you know, we all want signings through the door and we want to get them quickly. But I think Liverpool fans have got reason to keep calm. You look at Michael Edwards' track record since he's been sporting director at the club over 2 stints, and it's been absolutely unbelievable. He's been responsible for some of the Premier League's best players. You're looking at Virgil van Dijk, he's a Premier League Hall of Famer. You're looking at Alisson, he's a Premier League Hall of Famer. You're looking at Salah, he's a Hall of Famer. Getting Robertson from Hull, and some of the outgoings that he did. You know, when Coutinho was sold to Barcelona for £142 million, that reshaped this whole Liverpool side of what we knew it to be under Jurgen Klopp. So I think when you look at it like that, I think Liverpool fans are entitled to be calm and patient and not hit panic stations. There's a lot going on at the football club. Like I said, Klopp's an iconic figure, and I just think they're taking their time. And again, Liverpool either are at the top end where they get deals done really early, or near the end of the window, they come in really late.
There's no in between.
There's no in between, but usually they've got a really high strike rate at successful signings. Yes, maybe Naby Keita didn't work out quite well, or when Dominic Solanke was there the first time, etc., etc. Everybody has misses, but by and large, when Michael Edwards is involved, it's a hit. So I think Liverpool fans can sort of say we trust the process.
Yeah, I think he's just a top businessman. He's someone that he recognises what the manager wants, what the club wants, but he also recognises timing, and I think that's really important. As a Manchester United fan, you've definitely been on the bad end.
All right,
of
got a whole.
Already started.
It's not you. We're talking about Liverpool. See, this is your chance, and you bring Man United into it.
We spent a lot of time talking about United. Let's be honest. I think when you think about Michael Edwards, all I ever think is, I just trust him. And I think that's the general consensus with Liverpool fans. The moment you're linked to someone, you have a feeling that this will be the right player, the right timing. And if it doesn't happen for whatever reason, you also trust him. And I think that's quite a unique relationship.
All right, thanks, guys. A quick reminder of the breaking transfer news. Newcastle have signed William Osulu from Sheffield United. We're going to hear from Eddie Howe very soon. And guess what, Flex? Next up, we're going to talk all things Manchester United. Stay with us. Hi there, welcome back. Time to get to Manchester United. It could end up being a pretty busy few weeks before the deadline. Now, Flex, you've been over with the squad in the US. Lucky you. Right, what was the vibe? Tell us. What was the goss?
The vibe was good. The players are in good spirits. Obviously, there's been so much changes at the football club with a whole new football structure being put in place. And Manchester United fans have been celebrating this, and it should be standard practice. But the truth is for so long, Manchester United has not been run in the correct way. There hasn't been the right people in the right places to make football decisions, and football decisions haven't also been at the forefront of every decision made, which, you know, to have a successful team, that should be. So there's a big emphasis on changing the squad. There's a big emphasis on bringing in younger players and changing the profile of players. Of course, the situation with this man, Erik ten Hag, his future, you know, that's all now put behind, and everybody knows where they stand now. So Dan Ashworth and Sir Dave Brailsford and Jason Wilcox, I saw them on tour and had a couple of conversations with them, and they're very much excited about the project. The fans are behind it. The players have responded well to the changes, and it's just about settling down now and letting these people work in their respective roles. Omar Barada's in from Manchester City, and really start making better decisions on and off the field. It's going to take a long time. Manchester United fans need to be patient, but the vibe and the feeling that you get off the players was definitely positive. But it usually always is. It's sunny, you're in America, there's no pressure on the game, you're just trying to get your fitness up. The real task is obviously when the Premier League season kicks off next Friday for Manchester United home to Fulham.
You've been absolutely loving it. You were calling him Eric, first name basis.
Yeah, he calls me Flex.
He calls me Flex. What about Kobbie Mainoo? Because you spent some time with him. Like, what was he like?
It was really good to see him in an element away from Man United. He was on his holidays. Obviously, he reached the latter stages, right up into the final with England, and for him to be, you know, down in Venice Beach, relaxing, and still wanted to play football. And we did a piece with him at Venice Beach Football Club, and those guys do incredible work in the community there with young players, and anyone who's anyone in football goes there. Ronaldinho's been there, Camavinga's there at the minute, you know, Mbappe was there a few weeks before, And Kobbie Mainoo was just in his element, and you just see how much he loves football. Really calm, really collected, had time for everybody. And, it's going to be a massive season for him. We forget, he hasn't even had a full year at the pro game. And what he's achieved in such a short space of time since coming into the team late last year to what he's achieved now, winning goal in the FA Cup final, goals against Liverpool in the top corner. Being the answer to England's midfield conundrums in the Euros, it's been absolutely fantastic for him, and he's just got such a cool head, and can't wait to see him shine.
What about the Sky Canteen? Did the breakfast live up to all those waffles and pancakes you've been having out in San Diego and LA?
I tell you what, it was good to get back and stop having some of that heavy food. It's not easy. It's not easy. Needed to get back.
Right, we are going to take a little look at players out, potential incomings as well. OK, let's start with Jadon Sancho. What do you make of all this? Jadon Sancho, Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well. He'd be a loss, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of course. I think Jadon Sancho is a really interesting one because it looked like it was untenable between himself and Erik ten Hag after what happened last season. And from talking to people at the club, and my assessment of the situation as well, is that I don't think that Manchester United could afford for Jadon Sancho to come back off that loan in Borussia Dortmund and be exiled from the squad, not training, not doing a proper pre-season. It doesn't put Manchester United in a strong position if they're looking to sell him. It doesn't put Jadon Sancho in a strong position if he wants to move. Buying clubs will look at that situation and say, you have an unhappy player, you have an unhappy manager, here's 10 million, here's 15 million. That's not what Manchester United need to do. So he's come back into the squad. Been around him as well. He's been happy. He's been on the front foot. He's been fit, and I just think options are open there. There's talks and rumours regarding PSG or Juventus earlier on in the window. Haven't quite materialised yet, but I think Manchester United are comfortable with where they're at. If the right valuation is met, in my opinion, I think Jadon Sancho could leave. If it's not, Manchester United say, right, he's integrated into the squad. This is your player, Erik ten Hag. Hey, Jadon, you play for Manchester United, you'll play.
Do you not think that in Jadon Sancho's situation, where he was obviously Dortmund's star boy, the main man, he comes to United, everyone's anticipating the same thing, and now he's sort of in this limbo where he could be at PSG next season or he could be at United. I wonder what that's doing for him, because obviously he had the whole thing with Ten Hag last season. And I wonder if he's actually going, I actually do want to be the main man again. And I do feel like United have a space for that character or person.
Well, it's interesting for him to try and win that starting position, because if you're looking on the left-hand side, Marcus Rashford is the star man out on that side. He had a bad season last year, but expecting big things. Alejandro Garnacho is probably naturally a left winger, but spent a lot of time out on the right. Amad Diallo has come in, this pre-season, and Manchester United fans are really expecting a big season from him, as is himself and the coaching staff. And Anthony's had a really tough time as well. So Jadon Sancho isn't a shoo-in for those positions, but the challenge is there, absolutely. And it's down to Jadon whether, if he doesn't get that move, does he get down to work? Aaron Wan-Bissaka, there's talks about him potentially going to West Ham, or is it Inter Milan, etc., etc. He's got 1 year left. Manchester United triggered an extension on his contract in January, so that we can get to this situation and be able to have some value there. This divides Manchester United fans quite a lot, I've seen.
Yeah.
Because he's fantastic in terms of 1v1 duels. Could you buy a better defender in 1v1 duels? Maybe not. But in terms of the rest of his game and where Manchester United want to go, I think they're looking in a different direction. If you're looking at Scott McTominay, I think Erik ten Hag found the best position for Scott in terms of coming off of the bench, affecting the play, getting in the box and scoring goals. But for far too long, Scott's probably played a little bit deeper.
I feel like he's a really valuable asset, and it really depends. Is McTominay happy being a super sub? I don't know him personally, so I can't say for sure. Obviously, you know all the players, so you maybe know.
Not personally, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah. Just Kobbie.
Name dropping all morning.
That's you guys saying that.
He seems like a strong character, though, doesn't he, McTominay?
Yeah, and I think those players are really important to have in the dressing room. Obviously, we're going to go on to talk about Maguire, but they had a situation last season where Maguire was potentially going to be out of the squad, and now you're kind of going, he's an integral figure for what it means for this dressing room. I just feel like you lose McTominay as well, and then maybe Wan-Bissaka goes and Maguire goes, and now suddenly, who's your leaders? Who are you looking at and saying, can you be this person or that person?
I agree with what you're saying in terms of Scott McTominay is a model professional. Gets himself in, knows what to do, doesn't complain, doesn't kick off when he's not playing, and comes in and does a job. Model professional. I think you're looking at PSR as well, and Manchester United needing to sell in order to buy. if Scott McTominay was to leave the football club, that would represent 100% profit on the books, which would really help Manchester United. And also, Manchester United want to up the quality, up the technical ability. They want to go in a different direction. And I'm not saying that Scott McTominay 100% doesn't have a role within a squad, because if he stays, he can play a part. But there is this sort of situation where Man United do need to improve in midfield areas, and players who have been there for a while, it's kind of time for something new. So, yes, they have to embrace change, and that takes time, that takes patience. But at the same time, Manchester United don't want to be... I think fans shouldn't really be caught on the heartstrings of things that haven't quite been working. So, yeah, I think he's definitely on the list. And then we get to Victor Lindelof and then Harry Maguire. But Victor Lindelof, again, a year left on his contract. And if Manchester United are looking to bring in other players in that area, Lenny Yora's already come in that central defensive area. Victor Lindelof would probably be one player that they're looking to offload in terms of a year left on his contract. And probably he's always happy to sort of be third choice or fourth choice, come in, do a professional job. Good, steady player, Victor Lindelof. But again, I think Manchester United want to move forward. And Harry Maguire came close.
That's the one you have to keep.
That's the... Well, I think with so much going on, absolutely. I don't believe Harry Maguire will leave. If the money was right last season and he agreed to the deal last year, potentially he could have gone. But I think with so much change at the football club, I think it will be unlikely that Harry Maguire leaves this year.
OK, right. Well, we've got loads more coming up on the show. We're going to hear from Eddie Howe very shortly, another signing in today at Newcastle, and we'll see if he discusses Mark Gay this morning. Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. We promised you Eddie Howe. He's just been holding a news conference. One signing in today, William Osula from Sheffield United. Could there be further incomings? Let's hear now from the Newcastle boss on his first signing.
Yeah, player that we've known, well, I've known since Jason's time at Sheffield United, really. So we've been tracking his career the last 3 years. Player that really excites us. I think he's got some really good raw ingredients to become a very, very good centre forward. He's got extreme pace, really good physical profile, 6'3", Virgin on 6'4", and he's got good technical skills as well. Now there's areas of his game to develop, obviously, but I think he's coming to the right place to do that.
You don't have a lot of depth, do you, in some of those attacking areas? Was that another factor in looking for a young forward who, as you say, you can develop but could potentially play a role for you now as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a very, very tricky situation because we have two outstanding centre forwards, in my opinion, very, very good. And to find someone to complement them, it isn't as easy as you think it is. So to find a young striker that we can develop, and as I said, I don't think he'll have two better centre forwards to learn from and to pick their brains and to use as role models for him. So I think he's come into a really healthy environment, but it's not easy to find players with a profile, and of course financially it had to work for us as well. We couldn't spend outrageous sums of money, so I think this is a good deal for us, and we've got a lot of work to do with him, but he's a really good character and I'm sure he'll enjoy his time with us.
We've got two matches coming up, Friday night and then Saturday. I think it's the third time that in your pre-seasons here you've played in consecutive days ahead of the campaign starting. How are you going to work it with dividing up your squad, giving players the right number of minutes, but not too much because you do have some players unavailable still?
Yeah, probably the most difficult year for us to do this, but we do believe in it. We do believe in trying to give people as close as we can to 90 minutes the week before the season starts. The only way to do that is to have two games because you have a squad and numbers-wise it's the way it works. But this year slightly different because we've had players come back at different stages. Bruno to my right will be in that group, so we have to manage the minutes well, but also the majority of the players have to be ready to play 90 minutes against Southampton in a week's time, so it's an important weekend for us.
Bruno, you played for Brazil in the summer in the Copa America, and as the manager said, you came back a bit later. How do you feel now at this stage of pre-season with your fitness, and are you ready?
A little bit bad. I think in my first day I thought I would pass away. I was very, very tired after a big travel for 26 hours to get in Japan. so it was tough for me. But today I'm feeling all right. I think I've been training well. Can't wait for start this season. I think for me this season gonna be key for the club. So I'm excited and I can't wait to start it.
And as you know, there've been some speculation, some reports about you and your future, but you're still here. You were captain last week in Japan. How happy are you to be at Newcastle United?
I was about me, but this not get involved this early with my agents. I don't know anything about it. My focus always, since I signed for the club, have been Newcastle's, and since I'm here, this gonna be Newcastle. I think I'm very happy. GAF are giving me a big responsibility to be in the leadership group. So I want to be a leader. I want to help the club in many ways. I want to help this guy because since I'm here, he developed my game a lot. So I'm grateful for him, for his staff, for the players. So now I think it's time to me deliver something special for them.
Thanks, Reza. Keith Downey?
Bruno, was that the statement you put out on Instagram the other day saying you're prepared for the new season and really looking forward to it? Was that like a message to the fans that you're here this season and here to stay?
I'm always here. I never said that I would like to leave. Since I signed for the club, I always said I want to put my name in the club history, and nothing changed. Nothing changed for me. It is keeping going. I still want to win some trophy for me. When I signed for the club, I said I want to play Champions League, and everyone said that I was crazy, and we got it. Now I wanna be in Champions League again. I wanna win something for the club. I think the fans deserve. We are worked so hard to get it, so this is still my dream.
Eddie, other than trying to kill him off when he returned, what's it like to have him back? From the outside looking in, it looks as though he brings added energy to an already energised group.
Yeah, I think when you don't have the international players with you, you notice a big hole. And the early weeks of pre-season for us, we were training without Bruno and the other internationals. I think when he came back, it just naturally everyone was lifted, and I think he's got that those qualities in him that he lifts the group, and I think he has since he's joined the club. I want to echo what Bruno says. We're all motivated to do exactly the same. We're desperate for success. He epitomises that, and he brings those special qualities that makes us better.
Both Anthony Gordon and Kieran Trippier returned yesterday. Saw pictures of them training. Where are they with regards to their pre-season preparations, because they've had that extended break?
Yeah, they have, but I think they needed it. It was essential. We gave them a mental break from the rigours of football and all the pressures that come with it. But they've come back in really good shape. Trained very well the last few days. Really happy with them. They will, fingers crossed at this moment, they will be involved at the weekend.
In from Eddie Howe. On the way, could we see signings at Tottenham in the coming weeks? And Postecoglou wants to sign a striker. Might it be Dominic Solanke? Dum-dum-dee. Hi there, welcome back. Let's get the gossip then. Time for a quick look at some of the transfer stories making the back pages. We're going to kick it off with the Daily Telegraph. They're reporting that Kieran Trippier is on West Ham's radar. They're stepping up attempts to sign a right back ahead of the Premier League season starting next week. In the Sun, it says that Manchester United are continuing their pursuit of Burnley midfielder Sander Berge. Now, they could tie the Norwegian down to a contract worth £100,000 per week. Finally, on the back pages, in the Daily Mail, Armando Broja is holding talks with Enzo Maresca in London to figure out his future. Everton and Wolves among those interested in the Chelsea striker. You can keep up to date with all of the gossip, the transfer stories, and loads of insight, analysis, all of that jazz. Just get onto the QR code that's on the screen right now, and you can keep up to date there. Right, let's talk Tottenham now then. They are interested in signing Dominic Solanke, not going to sing again, from Bournemouth. Spurs also open to offers for Manor Solomon. What do you think about Solanke then? Would that be a good fit?
I think it's an interesting one because I think some people would maybe scoff at that and think that's underwhelming. I kind of disagree. I think actually Dominic Solanke and Spurs could be aligned in terms of the attributes he has I look at how Ange likes to play football. I have runners around him. And his goal-scoring record last year was obviously fantastic. We can see it there. And I think the key is that he doesn't have a prolific goal-scoring record. He doesn't have a big sample size of doing what he did last year. 21 goals in 42 appearances in all competitions last year, which was absolutely unbelievable. And if you watch Dominic Solanke last year, even on the eye test that you talk about, Nabeid, as well, he was an absolute handful in almost every game, bringing people into play, scoring goals, being effective, holding the ball up. And you look at Spurs, post Harry Kane, and they haven't had somebody who is reliable. They haven't had somebody who can stick the ball on the back of the net in a consistent manner in that number 9 position. And I just think that actually it is a risk, don't get me wrong, and something that might worry Tottenham fans. But you see here, Son, you'd expect to be at the top of that chart since Harry Kane has left with 18 goals, Richarlison with 12, Kulusevski
really
chipping in with 8.
Christian Romero's up there. That's a centre-back.
Yeah.
And Brennan Johnson, who a lot of people say his finishing isn't very clean, is up there. And then Maddison was obviously there last season. Kulusevski had a purple patch. So, in general, I think Spurs need a forward, I think. And I agree with you in the Solanke thing. You were saying off air that, you don't want to offend Spurs fans, but it feels like a very good signing for Spurs. And I think Spurs fans would be happy with the signing, but they don't want the feeling of it's a good signing for Spurs. But think about strikers. Who else is actually available?
Well, and also I think if you look at Spurs in the last sort of 18 months, maybe a couple of years, I think they actually have a good track record of players coming to the football club that are relatively unproven. And then they've been at Spurs under a couple of different managers now, yes. But now you're looking at them and saying, well, this is a player. Van de Ven, add Romero into that. You look at Udogie, you look at Pedro Porro. There's 4 players, Kulusevski. No, these players didn't arrive in the Premier League with, amazing reputations. You look at the goalkeeper, Vicario, as well. He's another one. So I think Spurs as well, you've got to give them a little bit of credit in terms of some of the players they've brought in that you might go, I'm not really sure about that one. I'm not really sure about that player in the Premier League. But they turn out to be, really effective players. And I think actually Dominic Solanke could be one. Just
looking at who's scored goals since Harry Kane's left, Kane's actually scored 44 goals, I've just been told, since he's left. That's incredible, isn't it?
It's a ridiculous...
You also can't replace Harry Kane. It was like when they lost Gareth Bale.
Puts it into context, I think.
Yeah, Harry Kane being one of the best finishers, playmakers, number 9s that we've seen in Premier League history, to replace him, no one would be adequate, in all fairness. They tried Son through the middle, which kind of worked. They had Timo Werner, played him off the left. I do feel like when you lose a player like Kane, kind of like the Gareth Bale deal, where they lost Bale, they signed 10 players to replace 1 player. And it's very difficult to replace those sort of guys. You can't replace the best players in their position with just lots of other good players.
Oh, we saw Richarlison in the mix there. Do you expect him to leave?
I don't see a world where Richarlison and Solanke can both survive, because I think they both have to play as a singular number 9. Spurs play with 3 forwards, two wide. I also wonder what's happening with Son as well, because maybe they do play with 2 up front, because Son as a winger just doesn't work anymore. He doesn't have the athleticism. He's suited playing through the middle. He's, in my opinion, the best finisher in the league. And Richarlison has... I don't think he's been underwhelming per se, but it's more so if you watch the games here, you can see he's 11 goals, 4 assists and 28. That's pretty decent for a striker. The problem is the missed chances, the lack of availability, minutes played are pretty low, and then his shot creating actions are at 34. Solanke's are at 79 from last season, twice as much. And I think Spurs want a guy who can do more than just put the ball in the net.
And like I said, it's just that gamble of Dominic Solanke's has been around the block. He's had quite a few clubs now, come from Chelsea, Liverpool. Found his feet at Bournemouth finally after a couple of seasons. Was really good for them in the Championship for a couple of years. Of course, going to find your feet in the Premier League, and has had this wonderful season last year. I do understand why people would be like, can he replicate that? And of course, going up a level as well to Spurs, the pressures are different, the demands are different. But you look at just the attributes with your eyes, and like I say, I just feel like that transfer could work. We've seen some reports online suggesting that Spurs could be, looking at Ivan Toney as well, different type of striker. I think the key is you look at how similar are Spurs to when Harry Kane was playing versus what are they like now.
Chalk and cheese.
And it's completely different. So it all depends on what type of striker Ange Postecoglou wants. But the way I see Spurs play football is on the front foot. Their wingers are at it. They're high pressing. They want to win back the ball as quickly as possible. As Ange says, high line. He's got high line for life. He doesn't care if he's 9 men, 8 men. It doesn't matter. He's still going to play the same way. So that would probably... You'd probably want a striker maybe slightly different to Harry Kane, but I think the focus definitely is, though, they have to find somebody who is going to be that main number 9. It's no surprises that they are looking at someone who was fantastic last season.
Yeah. We're going to get to Crystal Palace now, and a story in the Telegraph last night. This is by Sam Wallace. So he's reporting that Wilfried Zaha is a loan target for Palace. Galatasaray, though, do want a considerable fee for a season-long loan. What do you make of this potential return?
Do you know what? When I first heard it, I just started smiling. I thought, well, it's a great story.
First, you did a double take.
I was like, what? What's happening here? And if that was to happen, it would be a great story. I mean, look, some people can look at that to say, you know, that means Zaha's failed. He went to Manchester United earlier on in his career. It didn't work. Came back to Palace in a comfort zone. Took him ages to leave again. Then he's finally gone to Galatasaray. Hasn't worked out. Now he's come back a bit like a homing pigeon. I don't see it like that. I see it as, you know, he's had many great years at Crystal Palace, given them the fan base fantastic memories, fantastic service. Gone to try something new a couple of times. It maybe hasn't worked out. And I like that he's coming back home if that happens.
Storyline's nice, but I think
there's always one.
Yeah,
but
football's about narratives, yes. But if we're talking about losing Elise and you're going to bring in Wilfried Zaha,
could he be the answer to that?
Probably, but you'd imagine with the money coming in, they have to spend the money on upgrading the squad in a positive way, younger players possibly. And it's not to say Zaha doesn't have the skill set to come in and replicate what Elise did, but I do feel like they moved on from the Zaha era. I know why you're smiling. I'm not going to address why you're smiling. They moved on from the Zaha era, moved into this new era, and I just think they're kind of putting a foot back in to go forward. I feel like you've got to move on. Moved on
and not come back. Once you've moved on, don't text the ex.
Don't come back.
Is that what you're saying?
Advice. It's good advice.
And obviously on the right-hand side as well, where Elise does play, Zaha isn't a natural fit for there. It'll be a bit of reshuffling, but listen, I like the story.
Yeah, same. I love a bit of romance.
2-1.
Zaha's watching this and he's saying, they voted me in. And he's not going to listen to me anyway.
No, he's not. You know, he's had a few things
we know
to say
about
before.
that.
So,
A little bit of beef there. OK, we've got plenty more coming up on Palace and the rest of the clubs later on today. Good morning, transfers. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. You two going to be here?
Absolutely.
Yes. They got callbacks. We've got plenty more to come today as well from these two. Transfer Talk will be here, as usual, at midday. And then you will always get a full roundup of all of the day's news. You can catch the Transfer Show 2 instalments tonight.